So, hi everyone. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Kunal Bhavsar, who is a senior software engineer and has been working in the software world for around, I think, 8-10 years. So, today we'll try to talk to him about how his journey started in this software world and then how he progressed, what he has learned, and especially for freshers what advice he has. So very welcome, Kunal, to this session. So yeah, you can maybe start with giving a little bit about your background and your work profile.
Sure. Yep. Thank you, Nikhil, for that introduction. So, talking about my education background, I'm from a small town in Maharashtra called Bhusawal. So, I did my high school education there only, and I wanted to do a computer engineering, but could not, get enough marks in first attempt. So, I did a small course of hardware and networking, and worked as a hardware engineer in a hardware shop. So that was for a few months. That was one good experience I had, and then I again attempted for engineering and got placed in second attempt. So I got placed into VCT College of Engineering in Vasai, which is in Mumbai University.
Very nice.
So actually, there is a bit of story there as well as in. So I got placed. Me and my dad went to the college. The college fees was very high. Also, accommodation or hostel rent were high. So, looking at our family income, we decided to not enroll into that college, and we were about to go back from Mumbai to our hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call from my uncle. Um, he told my dad that don't worry, just get the admission now. We'll figure out later how to manage the money constraint and all.
Very nice.
So yeah, we did that. I'm
This was which
that is
year?
a
Which year? This was
this is I think 2009 or 10.
2009. Okay.
Uh,
2009 you
yeah,
started your engineering. Okay.
correct. So I anyway enrolled, and later on I applied for loan and got that loan. So completed my engineering. So that was a huge
So
decision.
how was
I
how much was the fee
So fee was around 90,000 per year.
per year?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but still that was too much high looking
Okay.
at
Okay.
looking at our family income.
Okay.
So
You took a loan and then.
that is
Hmm.
that is not only there, right? So only college fee is not enough. You have to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at the
Personal
accommodation.
expenses, yeah. Mm.
Exactly. Food, accommodation, house rent, everything. So anyway, so I got enrolled into college, and uh, it didn't stop there. Struggle didn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was from Marathi medium, which is our local language in Maharashtra.
Sure.
So first year of engineering was very tough for me as everything was in English, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So you did not
I
study
struggled a
English
lot there.
a lot, like English was not a subject, or it was
It
still
was a subject,
mm,
but
you're not
I
able to
was
speak. Mm.
yeah
Okay.
I was not fluent, or
Acha.
it's just that whatever I have read, I will just go and write that. I
Mm-hmm.
was not good enough in
Okay.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was pretty tough for me. I even got three KTs in first semester. So it was difficult,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually got hold of surroundings and new environment, and cleared all KTs in next semester.
Mm-hmm.
um, and finally completed my engineering with distinction in 2014.
Very nice. Very nice.
So that's my education journey and education background.
Great. Then, how did you start in your software career? Right after the college, you got the placement, or you applied and then did internships? How did your journey in the software field, especially, started?
So I was lucky enough to get placed into placement trial.
Mm-hmm.
um, Actually it was a huge struggle again. So all these students with good communication skills got picked up by bigger companies.
Acha.
uh, so I lost hope eventually that I'll get picked due to this communication barrier.
Oh, okay.
But there comes this last
Companies did
placement drive.
companies co- like come in your college? How
So
many companies came for the placement, and how many students were
I
there?
think there were around 6 to 7 companies visited,
Okay,
including TCS, Infosys,
okay, these
so on.
big service
Big,
companies. Yeah. Hmm.
correct, big service companies. Um, but there comes the last placement drive, and there was this company called as Nipple Technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Their focus was more on logic rather than communication. Uh,
Right.
so yeah,
That
and
should
they
be
not
the
only,
scenario. I
yeah,
mean,
that should be the approach. Yeah,
you are
actually, Nipple
choosing the
Technologies was
software engineers. You're not choosing any like writers or something,
correct.
but they do give the importance to these things also, the communication and all.
I think it depends on whether the company is MNC or not, right? So if it is a MNC, you have to have good communication to interact with another country employees,
Okay. Yeah.
and English is a universally
Got it.
accepted language. So
Right. Right.
for them, it is a valid constraint, I'll say. But if there are
Mm-hmm.
startups which are only India based,
Mm-hmm.
only look at your logic. So Nipple Technology, where I was based, that was startup only.
Great. So,
So, I got selected, uh, also got the offer, and I got the offer almost, second best package in overall college that year.
very nice.
So,
Great. Mm.
I was pretty happy, as in being an outsider in Mumbai University. You are getting placed with a higher package. It was a big achievement.
Great.
Uh, and I consider myself very lucky that I got, placed in placement drive itself, or else if you do not get selected in placement drive, you have to uh, do a bit of struggle. I have seen my friend doing that struggle, so
So
I
how
consider.
much percentage were placement? What percentage of people got placed in the placement in your class?
So in my class, around 50%, I'll say.
50%. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in a college also there is like locals and outsiders, right? So
Acha.
in outsider
Hmm.
it was very low. It was like 5 to 10%,
Okay.
and the locals it was like 70 to 80%. So there are multiple variations or uh,
Okay. So do they prefer
different
the
constraints.
local people, or like what is that?
No, I think if you are brought, born and brought up in Mumbai, uh, you have
Right.
a better education available. So
Yeah.
uh, those constraints are there.
Got it. Got it.
Uh,
So they are born and brought up in Mumbai. They already can speak well. That communication is good. Maybe they are more
Communication, right?
aware of these things. So in
Correct,
that was the reason. Okay, great. So in 2014, you started your sort of software career, right?
correct. Yeah, but
Oh,
that was not all. As in,
yeah.
student life is very much different than the software engineer,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So what Nipple Technologies does is they provided us 3 months in-house training,
Acha.
and
Acha.
there the focus was on teaching us core Java fundamentals. So
Okay.
that training was very tough. We started in the morning 7, and we end a day around 10 p.m. So it was like 15 hours continuous course, I'll say, every day for 3 months. So it was very
Those
difficult.
things you did not
Uh,
study in college, were they like repeat for you, or you found that the training useful?
I'll say only 5% was repeat.
Acha.
95% was new to me.
No. Okay. Okay.
As in college, in 2014, I'd say they did not used to cover a lot of basic fundamentals of Java. It is just that you just have to show the output, right? And they don't care about what is the quality of code and all. So just basic things you learn, but core Java is very deep. Object oriented programming. Uh, there are lot of concepts which you should be aware about
Mhm.
if you want to write a proper or efficient code.
So
So they
what
taught
was
us
the
there.
style of this training? Were they like given you a project and you have to work on the project, or were they just theory classes? They
it
take
was it
lectures.
was mixed.
It was mixed.
It
Okay.
was, yeah, it was mixed. Accent, at morning 7 we get up, there were yoga sessions, then
Okay. Okay.
you have to do the breakfast, and then classes will start where there will be core Java classes. There will be
And this was in-house, like, or they partner with some
in-house,
company
in-house.
in-house. So
No,
their
no,
own
they
people were giving these trainings.
yeah. So Nipple Technologies. So they have another branch called as Nipple Educations or Learnings. I think Nipple Learnings.
Okay.
So they also take the classes as well. So they had their resources
Okay.
um, to teach new students.
And how many people were in your batch? How many new joiners were there?
I think there were around 20 or
20.
30 actually.
Okay. 30
And
people.
yeah,
Across, this was
during
across Maharashtra or other states as well?
other states
Like,
as well, there were people from Tamil Nadu, Kerala,
okay.
Delhi.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they picked multiple uh, multiple
Different.
cultures. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
but that training was very difficult. I think there were exams almost every week, and depending on the performance, almost 30% higher candidates were filtered out.
Acha. So you
So
had
it
to
was
pass
it
the
was
exam also. It's like some people were sort of shunned also after
there's
this.
no passing range, I'll say. It's just
Okay.
that you have to be in top 70,
You have to be in
right?
top
Or
70.
else,
Uh,
yeah,
else they can drop you also. Even if they
yes, yes,
select you, if you don't do well in the training, then they can
they
drop you.
can, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
That
so
is
that
also
was the
important.
scenario. Yeah, it was very
I think this
hectic,
is
and
the training, etc. This is very common amongst these big companies, right? Infosys, they give you training for 6 months, and similar for TCS, etc. But for smaller
but
companies also, I was not aware that they also have these training sessions.
not sure if all the companies provide that. But this particular company where I was placed, there was this proper training.
Right.
Um,
And it was
yeah,
helpful. You
but
were saying 95%
it
thing.
it was
It was
it
helpful.
was very helpful for me.
And it was
Uh,
would be very practical in the nature, right? Not theoretical or mixed, you would say.
I'll say practical. Uh,
Practical, right? Real code you are writing, real projects you are
yes,
working
yes,
on.
yes,
Maybe
yes, yes.
somebody
So
reviewing your code. Can you tell a little bit about training? What kind of training was it, right? Hmm.
yeah, so as I said, right, there was core Java fundamentals they taught us, and every day there were assignments. So
Okay.
real life scenarios, like implement a banking system. So they will divide us into groups, and we have to implement the banking system in a groups,
Very
and they'll be reviewing our code, how we are writing code. Just writing code was not enough. You have to write the efficient code. So apply all the learnings which they taught into your implementation.
very nice.
That was the secret. And at the towards the end, there was a big project. After filtering out 30% candidates, they chose 40%, and they directly assigned. So during training, they will identify the capabilities of the students, and they will assign a technology to them. So multiple people were pulled into Java backend. Multiple people were pulled into Android's iOS development,
Mm-hmm.
and at last I think there were eight of us, which were top performer. So they divided eight of us into two teams of 4 and 4, and they gave us a challenge that you have to build games
Mm-hmm.
in any language, in any technology.
Mm-hmm.
So our team's focus was on implementing a single game. So we implemented, I remember, a Shark Tank, where shark will be swimming in the water. There
Mm-hmm.
will be multiple things coming in a way, and shark have to eat it, and you have to jump the shark on the using the space button on keyboard. So that game we
This
implemented, and
you
we won
implemented
that
in
round.
which language or which
It
technology?
was HTML, JS, basic
HTML.
HTML, CSS,
Yes,
JS.
very nice. This is like that Chrome game, something like that, dinosaur game.
Yeah, yeah, yes, exactly, almost.
Mm.
So in dinosaur game, there is just a single spacebar click, right?
Right, right.
Whereas in shark, you have, if you keep the spacebar clicked, the shark will go up, 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 up. If you leave it, the shark will go down, down, down. So it is a bit complex as compared to that dinosaur game, but it was fun.
Okay.
So those type of projects were given to us, and I'm lucky enough, got placed into that company, where they provided us this thorough training.
Right.
So uh, eventually, I was assigned to, Android team, um, and that's how I started my software developer journey.
Great. So after that, so this was 2014. So you worked in Android for how long, and then what happened? The next step of your journey.
So Google Technology was a startup, but so there are companies where you have to work into the allotted technology only.
Hmm.
Okay. But there are few startups who provide a flexible environment where you have to, code into front end, back end, uh, way everywhere. So I remember that I worked in Nimble Technologies almost for 2 years,
Mhm.
and in another company called as Mira Doctor ML Ventures for
Right.
2 years. So that was total 4 years experience in Android. Then
Okay. You
then
worked mostly in
I
Android in these
yeah.
companies.
So
Okay.
yes, first 4 years was purely Android, and towards the end of Mira Doctor journey, I started working on Angular and Ionic development.
Right.
So that was web development, I'll say.
Okay.
Um,
So for
and
Android, since you have good experience of Android, so can you share some learnings about Android now that you have good experience to a fresher who's just started to work on Android? What are the things you can help to guide him or her in Android per se?
so I think when I started working in Android, the Java was the basic development technology.
Right.
But currently, they are shifting their focus on Kotlin language,
Right.
um, which which I'm not very comfortable. As in, I didn't get chance to work on that Kotlin technology.
Mhm.
Uh, so
Flutter is also there, right?
Flutter is, I think, a hybrid technology.
Mhm.
Um,
Be learning also Android. What were your basic?
yes, so
Hmm.
that is one point, as in learning never stops. There is
Right.
no full stop to learning.
Yes. Yes.
Even after
Lifelong.
8 years of experience in various technologies, I have to keep reading what is new or what is upcoming features in the tech. So remember that life is a competition, and to be successful, um, you have to be aware of what is changing in your surrounding.
Right.
So
Right.
you have to keep reading, you have to keep watching videos, what is coming new. uh, so that's about learning,
Mhm.
and there are lots of good resources available. I personally prefer reading over anything. So
Okay. So you read from the
uh,
official documentation or any books or what?
yeah, so there are every language, and every language have official documentation available on
Right.
online, right?
Online, right.
Also there are lots of books available for every coding language,
Mm-hmm.
so those you can refer.
You don't like
um,
watching videos, like video tutorials? What is your stance on that? Mm.
yeah, I like that as well. As in,
Okay.
some people like to have interactive learning,
Yes. Yes.
so that is where the online learning platforms comes into picture.
Mm-hmm.
Those are evolved a lot in past few years, I think. Lot of good learning content is just a click away, but
Right.
again, quality matters over quantity.
Right.
So what I would prefer is uh, get a learning from a person who have industry knowledge rather than a person who just have a teaching experience, like you, Nikhil, right? So you have a good industry experience. We worked for almost 3 years together in Happy,
Right.
and
Right.
I you
So
you
were
know
there
I
any
have
mentors in your journey also? Somebody who helped you, you know,
there are a
uh,
lot of mentors.
want to share?
There are a lot of mentors.
Uh,
Um, so in Nimble
Well, one is
Technologies,
that like the book you are reading, right? You can always read the book or these online apps, and when there is a mentor, a human is also teaching. So there is some difference there, right?
yeah, as in a book, I'll say it is a one-time learning, as in you will go through it, and that's it. But the mentor will teach you more about not only coding practices, but overall, industry standards and all, right? So industry standards differ from domain to domain.
Right.
There are different industry standards you have to follow in health domain,
The
different in
practical
tech,
experience, whether that person has really
practical
done
experience.
it, and book is more on the theory side, on the fundamentals, which is also very important.
Correct.
Right? Book
Which
is
is also very important.
theory side, but the practical, somebody who's doing it day in day out, of course, that person can help you more in that
Yeah,
scenario.
exactly.
Great. So mentors helped you. You were reading. You were using these online videos, also online apps, etc. So then, after 2018, you joined Happy, right, where we worked together. So you want to talk about experience at Happy? What did you learn there, and so on?
Yeah, so as I said, the first 4 year was totally on Android,
Right.
but then I joined Happy, and I had to learn the backend language called as Ruby on Rails.
Okay.
Um, so I started working on Android as well as backend. Eventually, I also worked on
But Happy
Angular.
did not have
So
an Android app. They had in the start, but then
they
they.
had
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
they decided to scrap that and build a website instead.
Okay.
So so I worked in a Happy as a full stack developer from start, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was very good learning, building a product from scratch. Um, there were senior for senior mentors available, so they were teaching us the good coding practices.
How
So
difficult was this transition from uh, Android to Ruby on Rails?
it was not much difficult, as in if you
Okay.
get hold of one language once,
Mhm.
it is just that uh, logic remains constant.
Right. Right.
You have to build your logic once it is built. Learning a language is like uh, very simple thing. The
Hmm.
logic will remain same. You have to write that logic in a different language.
Hmm.
So I think the important perspective here is can easily jump to another language. It was not very much difficult for me. I learned the Ruby on Rails within 10 and 15 days, 10 or 15 days.
So you're saying once you know a language very well, which was Android for you or Java, then
Java.
changing to another language or learning new language is like not a very difficult task, right?
Yes, exactly. So, yeah,
Hello. Yeah.
we worked in Happy,
Mhm.
and it was of a fintech company, right?
Mhm.
Where we almost built up a banking domain, I'll say.
Right.
Uh, it was a very good experience
I think that
working with you.
multi services architecture, that would have been a new experience for you.
Right, right. So we implemented a microservice architecture
Microservice,
there.
sorry.
What
Yeah.
is microservice architecture is basically uh, every small component will be divided into a service,
Right.
and there will be multiple servers communicating with each other on the basis of using APIs. So
But that led
transferring
us
that.
into a lot of problems also, right? We worked together and there was a lot of problems.
Yeah. So
What is your sense
uh,
now? Was it a good decision to go with microservices, or should have made a monolith, right?
no,
Where
no, I
you.
still think it is a very good decision.
Mhm.
Uh, in microservices, you get a flexibility. If you build a bigger team,
Mhm.
uh, the bigger teams,
Right.
you can divide it to smaller teams. They can work independently. They
Even
will not
more
hamper each
modular,
other's
right?
code.
Uh,
It
Different
is
teams
very
can, deployment can
yeah,
happen independently, changes can happen
exactly,
independently, so you don't have to, you are not stuck on somebody else. So in that
exactly.
scenario, it helps.
So everything have benefits and everything have disadvantages. But for that particular scenario, I think microservices was the best decision.
Great. So happy you worked for around 3 years, I think, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
almost
and
three,
then
three
then
and
you
three
moved
and a half
to
years.
this your present company, right? So
Yeah.
want to talk about there, how was the transition, and now day to day what you are working on, right?
Sure, sure.
Technologies
So
wise only. Yeah.
yeah. So um, Till happy, I was working in startup on. So in Mindbody where I'm working right now, it is a MNC company.
Mhm.
So culture is very much different. It is a very good experience till now. As in Mindbody, I'm working as a principal software engineer right now,
Very nice.
and uh, here I'm working on a backend engineering
So
for
here
a
you also
research
use
team.
Ruby or Ruby on Rails or some other tech?
Yeah, technology is Ruby on Rails. As I said, right? So in bigger companies, you have to focus on a certain technology.
Mhm.
So I'm only focusing on Ruby on Rails. I'm not allowed to touch other code bases.
Right, right.
So those constraints are there. But again, we are getting more time here to build something. So what is the benefit in that is you will be focusing on quality over quantity,
So
and
the
that is
team
not the
is
case in
larger,
startups.
number of people are more, or why is that?
Yeah, there are so in my team there are four members,
Hmm.
but for similar work in startup culture there will be one or two people.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
So learning
There will
wise,
be a
what
lot
would
of
you
work.
say? Big companies better or smaller companies better, or different?
For
Both have
startup
pros and
career, I'll say
cons.
yeah, both have pros and cons, obviously. So, but at a start of a career, I'll suggest a startup only.
Okay.
So you will get a lot of work. You will be handling a huge pressure, and that will mold you into handling big pressures in future. So
Mhm. Yeah, I
as a
remember
bachelor, you can.
in art, like in happy days, when you were single-handedly handling the whole platform, which I was like very, amazed at how one person can do it. But that benefited you, right, in the long run.
Exactly. Yeah, as in it was a very good learning. It helped me to get that capacity that yeah, I can do it. I can manage everything. uh, so if I compare that work in my body, it's almost like 30% every day. So I was working like 10 to 15 hours per day in freelance, sorry, in startups, whereas I'm working 5 hours here, and other 3 hours are like in meetings and all, right? So so
But this
that's the
is also a
difference in.
different kind. Here, you maybe are going more in the quality side, right? You are enhancing your
Yeah,
work, or what kind of learning is happening in mind body? Yeah.
so biggest learning is till now in startup we were not focused on writing test cases,
Right.
but that is not the case in Mindbody. In Mindbody, you have to write test cases first, and then only you can
The
write
test
code. So
driven
we call it
development, right? Hmm.
exactly test-driven development.
Okay.
If
So the
you do
best
that,
practice is more of these best practices in bigger companies you'll learn, right?
exactly.
Mhm.
So in bigger companies, as I said, they will focus more on quality as compared to quantity,
Mhm.
and that should be the case always. It will benefit you in future. You'll see that. So it is my experience, right? So I wrote a code for Happy for almost 3.5 years, and after 3.5 years, a random thing started breaking, right? So which we wrote a code in first year was started breaking in
That
third
is
year.
called the technical debt, right? You
Exactly.
because
If
you
you
do
had
try
a.
to do things very quickly, and then something that just right what I'm saying, or not?
Yeah, very quickly, as in there is a time constraint, you have to complete everything within a time. So you don't think about multiple possibilities. There is a limited thinking. You have to just implement that. So those things are there. Um, and uh, and we didn't have test cases, proper test cases. So
Mhm.
uh, if you're pushing something on production, there are no proper test cases, and only whatever manually getting tested is validated, right? So even QA cannot test everything. So having test cases in a code
Yeah,
is
that
very
gives you
much
the
required.
confidence, right? How do you know the code will not break unless it's the other way around? What you are saying is, first we'll write test cases and then try to pass those test cases, so you are confident that your code will not break in production, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
So Kunal, yeah.
about working culture, I'd
Mm.
say here we are following this agile methodology.
Mhm.
So it revolves around sprint. So what is sprint? Sprint is nothing but a two planned weeks in future. So we plan for these 2 weeks on the basis of resource availabilities for those, and for those 2 weeks we try to complete all the committed tasks as a team. Also, we have daily stand-ups where we discuss what we did yesterday, what we will do today, and if there are any blockers. And that's the flow we are following here. And towards
It
the end
is
of sprint,
because this sprint, I know a lot of companies use it, but is it helpful, or what is your stance on this?
it is helpful. I think you have focused chunk of work. Uh, if you don't follow, these methodologies, you'll be confused. What should we pick next? Uh,
Right. But
this
one problem I
methodology is
see with
providing.
sprint is always there is something which is, you're not able to finish, or what is your experience? You're always able to complete all the sprint items, or there is
It
some
depends.
backlog?
It, it depends on planning. If the planning is proper, if proper documentation is available, you will deliver on time. And that is my experience here in my role. We are almost able to deliver every time
So
on time.
90% you can say, 90% you are able to deliver all
Yes.
the items. Great. That is a great
Yes.
ratio. I think if that is followed, then it is a very good exercise, gives you a small, time to deliver, and then always keeps you, not let you slack, right? You are always
Yes.
working.
Yes.
So finally, I think, Kunal, I'll have to, wrap it up because that we have less time.
Sure. Sure.
The final, I mean, what tips will you give to any fresher who is looking at, joining IT industry from your 8-10 years of experience? What will you say to that person?
So I'll say to them is experience matters, but more than that, willpower matters. Trust yourself. Also,
Okay.
focus on logic. If you like subject like maths, physics, engineering drawing, you like coding also.
Right.
Also, pick one language. Don't try to learn everything in first attempt.
Mhm.
Focus on one language and get a hold of that language. Try to understand the basic concept of that language.
Right.
And this is